So now you love and have to get something done, but you're currently in a hotel on the other side of the country. But we're gonna do it anyways. So I'm gonna start by telling you about Isabel of Angoulême. And then I'll connect her story to the eye look I'm gonna do, as well as one of her portraits. It's beautiful, I would show you the portrait, but I have to use my phone to film because I'm on the other side of the country. So, Isabel lived from I need a smaller nail, okay. Lived from 1188 to 1245. She was Queen of England through marriage. And Countess of Angoulême, she inherited that title. And then became Countess of La Marche, also through marriage. Oh, that is dark. Okay, that's what we need, And so she gained a lot of political and economic power through her titles. Her great-granddaughter was King Louis VI of France. Okay. And she later, when she married King John, became the daughter-in-law to Eleanor of Aquitaine. So she was at the center of very, very powerful royal networks across Europe. Isabel was widely described as exceptionally beautiful by many, and in the medieval world, beauty could function as power, especially political power. So I'm doing this darker shadow right now on the outer corners. This is because the portrait has a very dark background, making her the extreme focus, so your eyes automatically have to look at her. And due to her past, Isabel was betrothed to Hugh of Lessingen, but in 1200, her dad, she's with you at the time, her dad abducted her, took her home, and she was married to King John. She was originally believed to be, oh wow, I need to fix that, okay, about 12. However, some historians will argue that she is even younger, mainly due to the fact that she wasn't yet married to Hugh, and 12 is the marrying age. And so this represents like how little control, we'll do the inside corner too, she had at this moment. She had really no power, no control. And then when she married John, she became Queen of England, and yet still had very little power. She was not given any land or income as queen, which is very unusual, probably because she was 12, but do we really know? I don't. And so she was completely dependent upon John. And because of that dependency, that did limit her power. She had 5 children with John. Well, before I get to that, because I'm just skipping around all over the place, as we can tell, her marriage to John caused huge conflict. Oh my gosh, I promise it'll come together. It's okay, it's okay. Huge conflict between John and Hugh. Obviously, Hugh was furious, tensions at a max, to the point that King Philip Augustus of France had to intervene. Let me get this a little wet. Had to intervene because it got so bad. These conflicts actually led John to lose some of his territories in France. And now to her 5 children. One of those children is King Henry III. And her children were the main way she executed her power, especially during this time. After John's death in 1216, Isabella had Henry, when he was only 9 years old, coronated to be king. It was just 8 days after John's death. However, that's not the only way she had power through, what only children she had power through. Her son Richard became the first Earl of Cornwall, the wealthiest man in Europe, or one of the wealthiest nobles in Europe. And this looks purple. Okay, we gotta fix that. And elected the King of the Romans, which is super cool. And then so Isabel was center at now imperial politics. Her daughter Joan became the Queen Consort of Scotland. She has a funny story I'll tell you in just a second. And her daughter Isabella became the Holy Roman Empress. And I think these colors get a little lighter because I'm kind of pulling the focus back into her. And the portrait is where it's at. And this is just my blending color to try to make it so it's not a straight cut. And because now with John gone, she's now kind of getting her own power a little bit. And at the moment she's executing it through her children. So it's not quite as dull as it was before. Oh, and then her other daughter, her youngest daughter with John, became Countess of Pembroke. Okay, now go to the center of the lid. It is a yellow. She is wearing yellow. It's part of the royal thing. It's a huge thing. Now this is the brightest part of the eye. It's her later phase in life when she had a lot more outside. The mirror is right above you. The mirror in my hands. I'm kind of looking at both. She ruled with real authority. So she returned to France just 1 year after she got Henry coronated. Is that the right word? We'll go with crowned. Got him crowned. And so she returned to France to take over Angoulême. If you remember, that is where her lands are, where she inherited those lands. And those were from John. And so she had her own rights, she was controlling her own land, and she now had her own income. And then in 1220, she married Hugh the 10th. You might recognize the name because she was engaged to Hugh Blessing, also known as Hugh the 9th. But she married Hugh the 10th, this is the funny story I told you earlier, was betrothed to Joan, Isabella's daughter. And then when they met, they got married themselves. And I guess Hugh just preferred the mom over the daughter. It's interesting. But it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I married my daughter's fiance. So she became the Countess of La Marche through that marriage, which gave her more long-term stability just because as a woman, although she was a countess, still she didn't have a lot of political control as that, just in politics, a woman, you know. It just gave her more long-term stability and income, and actually gave her a lot more power than she even had as queen. She's now the Countess of two places, which did combine them. She had 9 more children with Hugh. So she had 14 children total, all of which lived to adulthood, which is pretty impressive. So her influence, oh my gosh, look at this, is rough. Her influence stretched across England, France, the Holy Roman Empire. She used family and marriage to gain and maintain power in the medieval time period, which severely restricted the power a woman could have. So now I'm trying to blend these colors. However, let me tell you, how can you blend black and yellow without looking like a bumblebee? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. I'm gonna leave this darker side because the best of it, the brighter, but the brighter definitely draws your attention out. Well, bam. My bad. Okay. So it's really the contrast between the line of life that is her life. She is a woman who was born with some power as the daughter of a count, but then was betrothed off, but then abducted and married the king, which actually left her with, in a way, less power. She really had none of her own there, which is sucky. And then she lost control through her marriages and regained and really reclaimed her own power and authority in her own terms, where she wasn't given that choice earlier in life. Okay, so the portrait, we have the yellow, we have the black. I am going, the family theme is like red diamonds. I'm not a good artist, so I'm not sure I can draw diamonds, but we will do like a red liner, and then we might try a diamond, we'll see. A red liner to pull that in. Let me just a second. The red, you can't really see it in the camera, but it's there. I'll do this side in a second, just ignore it. I don't have a lot of time. She just shows, like, I feel like it kept ties that had her worth with her, because if she wasn't married to John, it would have been a lot hard for her to gain back her power later, personally, because because she got her daughter betrothed to Hugh, is how she eventually met Hugh and made herself, which meant she got a lot of her power. And so that is a quick, there's so much more you could talk about her, honestly, but that is a quick synopsis of Isabel of Angoulême and her power in the